From a $250,000 to $500,000 a year to $1 a year to $2 a year to $4 a mil a year, and that's where we're sitting right now. So. What's up everybody, Logan here coming at you guys again with a new video. Today we're going to talk about the psychology of the markets a little bit, and I want to tell you guys a little bit about my background as a trader. We got the McLaren picture, we got the little McLaren toy. I do have a McLaren 600 LT, one of 700 ever made. So if you guys want some advice on whether it's sports cars, trading, business, entrepreneurship, mindset, psychology, I have all those things wrapped up in my bag with over 7 years of experience with all those things. 25 years old. But I want to talk a little bit about trading and how this year's been very tough. Trading has been something that's super mentally taxing for most people this year. For me, it was easy in January and February, right? I felt the market was extended. I was doing a lot of call credit spreads, waited for the market to pull down in March, did some put credit spreads. That worked out all well. April and May came around and the volatility shot off, and I still was able to go through it and tread the water. But the last 5 to 6 weeks have been very tough. We've sat out a lot, specifically with the Discord. A lot of other trades that I've been taking, I haven't even taken because this year's been so tough. But, you know, my psychology with it right now is I actually think we're going to find some more volatility here in the near future. I think we have so much going on in the world, and the VIX has fallen all the way down to 16 again. I could see us going back towards 25 to 30, maybe the market correcting back to the 5600s, 55. We have a bunch of open gaps below. So that's one thing for me that's like on my mind as I trade is I'm cautiously bullish, but I'm also leaning more on taking CCSs. And I think that's a very important part of trading is you have to keep your mentality completely open and free. Like the idea that something that worked yesterday will work tomorrow does not really apply right now in this market because we're seeing 40, 50, 60 point expected moves getting completely blown out, right? Even Friday, the EM was 50. We went all the way up 78 points before it retraced back to 60 on the day. So the market makers are really trying their best to get what's expected, but we've had 40 point EM days turn into 120 point moves to the upside and downside over the last couple of months, right? Ever since the tariffs were introduced. So I try to keep myself well-rounded with that, but we'll talk a little bit more about my story. So back when I was 18 years old, I was working as a cleaner. I left that job when I was 20. So actually it's around this week that I haven't worked for anybody else in over 5 years. I've been able to build my net worth from essentially nothing. I left that job with only $35,000 in my bank. And it was still a good job. I mean, I was making $32,000 a year if I decided to work full time doing that. But more or less, I was going to community college. I was studying entrepreneurship. I was studying business more. And my main focus was just to become a full-time trader. I had been trading since I was 18. And, you know, after 2.5 years of options and learning the market and how it moves, I decided to spend as much time as I could putting all of my hours into it because I figured, you know, if I'm so young and it doesn't work out and it takes 10 years and I'm churning my wheels and I'm 30 and I don't have anything figured out, I still have plenty of life left if my health stays well, right? So that was one of my main focuses, and one really big focus of my trading career was trying to spend as much time fully focused. And I'm talking 7 a.m. wake up, market opens at 9:30, closes at 4, and the whole time, you know, I'm sitting there just trying to absorb as much information as I can about SPX, credit spreads, calendar spreads, all the other ways you can trade options. And I'm a big fan of risk mitigation. So I have formed a strategy that a lot of you guys have followed where I spend an extreme amount of time looking at opportunity and understanding, you know, if you can collect 50 to 60% in a trade, let's say it's a 20 wide, you got $5 worth of credit, you've collected $250 of that, take that risk off, right? In an hour, 2 hours, and there you go. depending on how many contracts you've scaled that with, whether it's 10, 50, 100, 200, I sometimes run sets of 400 contracts when I do these trades. I've had multiple times, I've had over $1 million at risk at one point. And to really see my life, how it's grown, now that I have 2 houses, I have 5 cars, trying to keep that money safe, right? I like the idea of alternative investing. I like to invest in art, watches. I think those are fun. And real estate has been a great play for me and a lot of my rental rehabs that I've done recently. But if we go back to me being 20, quitting my job, deciding I was going to make trading my full-time thing, I actually moved to Denver, Colorado then, lived downtown, down in like Cherry Creek area for anybody who may be local to the area. And I spent about a year there. Then moved to Westminster, spent time focusing more on upping my quality of life. The city was kind of driving me crazy because when you're, packed in with all these people, you have a high stress job, because I was just trying to make it as a trader, a content creator. And then my account started to really blossom, and I got over $100,000 into that account from trading, spent a lot of time just trying to make 6 figures a year with trading. And then this last year was when I was really able to blossom it to 7 figures. And this year as well, like a mid 7 figures range on the year, which is, right around an MBA salary for what I've been able to do with trading. My other investments, I also own a large share of a marijuana company. Of course, have my cars, my content creation as well. So all of these things have spiraled into this massive brand. And I think that's one thing for me in my mindset is like when I was 21, it was so hard to stay patient because I knew that all of this was coming. But when you're 22, 23, 24, and you're seeing the same results every year, and someone who, like me, I mean, if you're someone who is like me, you're really focused on like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be the guy that gets my family out of poverty. I want to enjoy nice things, have nice views, and just really try to enjoy my life. I really don't like the idea of someone telling me what to do every day. I like to just live life at my own pace. And I have a really strong team behind me now, so it's a lot more helpful in that regard. So with trading, as you hit 24, 25, that's the age I am now, I feel like my brain has fully developed and I have a lot of growth still left. But the idea that I found a strategy that is repeatable, I can take that money, put it into alternative investments to keep it safe and still keep a mid 6-figure size portfolio to continue to trade with, just in case market volatility starts to take me out. If my emotions start to take over a little bit more, I want to be able to be in the perfect headspace for making decisions. So, it's always nice to have that backup plan, especially with capital, because we live in a capitalistic society. And I really want to become more of a venture capitalist as I hit the 8-figure mark, as I get closer to my 30s. So once I can kind of build my net worth that big, that's going to be my next step. My next process is focusing on that. I've spent so much time trying to figure that out. And I think that's one thing now is I've been like a seasoned vet in this for 7 years, and being able to make over 7 figures a year doing it has really changed my entire perspective on trading, where I look at everything now as risk mitigation completely. And I don't really look at trading as like, oh, how much money I can make. It's really how much money can I save. And what I mean by that is if you're like taking a credit spread and you have 200,000 at risk, and maybe you have a smaller account, so it's 20 grand risking to make 8, right? And it's this idea that you're setting a stop loss or your management process, right? You could hedge it with a butterfly. You could try it long dated expiration with calendars, other ways that you trade to figure out to hedge your risk. So setting stop losses or taking profit early has been just my new thing. So if, I'm up really good on a position, I just get out, because it's there. Every hour you spend with a position on, you actually can find quite a bit of stress in your life if you're really honed in on this. So, and you might put trades on recreationally, but if you're somebody who really wants to become a full-time trader, you have to spend honestly as much time as you can being totally level-headed. And if you get a good setup, you can take it and be done, right? 30 minutes into the trading day, you could just be done just like that. And I think that's a big thing, right? Is you should spend as much time as you can honing in a specific strategy. I only trade SPX. I trade off the expected move. I roll positions when they get tested, and I make sure to not risk over 20% of my account at any given time, right? Because there are times where you risk 6%, 8, 2%, 10. You understand what your edge is, and then you want to go in heavy when you have a large edge, right? Like guys who maybe bet the Eagles to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. The guys who made a lot of money, they had a very strong edge in that game. Same thing with any open market. You have to find the value, and then you have to pursue that opportunity every time it's given to you, as long as you're healthy that day, right? Like if you're sick, don't trade. If you haven't slept, don't trade. Like very simple ideas, right? Don't trade when those things are occurring. But overall, if you're just someone who maybe works out a little bit, gets a lot of sun, you have good family, friend support group, you can make it as a trader, because I was able to do it. I mean, I was somebody who came from nothing. My first car was an '03 Ford Ranger when I was 16. You know, even as a teenager, I never had more than $20,000 at one time. So, you know, which may be a lot to some of you watching this, or it may be little. And you're like, oh, when I was 19, I had 50 or 100 or whatever, right? But the whole idea is you want to build a skill and then monetize that skill. And trading was my skill that I built that I was able to monetize. And I think that's a really big part, is a lot of guys try to hold these secrets back. And that's just flat out what I've done. And it doesn't mean it will work for you in that regard. But for somebody who is trying to do freelancing or anything where you don't want to work for somebody else, that's a really big way to do that, is just find a skill and then set your life up around that skill. I like to trade on Public a lot these days. My favorite app to use for sure. TOS a little bit as well here and there. And what Public allows me to do is I can group my trades really well. It also keeps me from getting too emotional because I don't have very large P&L swings on there. It's set up really nice. It looks great visually for me as a trader. So if you guys are always curious, there's a link down below that you guys can sign up for Public with as well. But overall, I mean, as a trader, it's something you should really focus on, is like, what platform am I using? How do I feel about it? Because you're going to wake up and feel emotional about the platform you're using. There have been times in my career where I was like, oh, this damn app. Like, it's this app's fault, back when I was trading when I first started. And then you quickly realize when you find the one that works for you that you're going to have a much better emotional reaction to when things go good or things go bad. I mean, and you'll also get those feelings where you have to have a trade on, or if you've lost a couple times in a row that you're like, I'm never doing this again. You'll have these feelings that will ruin your entire day. And it can ruin it in a good sake, where you think you're the best thing that's ever happened to trading, and it's going to ruin it in a bad sake where you're going to go, why'd I waste all these years trying this thing? And that's for any skill that you're trying to build as a human. And I try to focus on that as much as I can, because I think there's so much good that you can do with capital that you'll probably find yourself doing more philanthropy, right? And trying to teach other people how to do this, or taking care of your family, and, you know, going from there, right? And I think that's a really big way to trade and how to focus in general on a career path that you want. So, you know, because I'm somebody, like, I'm not even going to be a trader my entire life. There will be a time where I take more of a backseat investing move, or the venture capitalist move, or start a race team, whether that's for NASCAR or Supercross or whatever it is, buy a golf course. Like, all of these opportunities that you can also create for other people, I think is where a lot of my satisfaction comes out of life now. Because you quickly realize, like, if you're really good at one thing, it's really fun to share it too. You know, as I kind of wrap this video up, I just wanted to talk really quickly about a little bit of my life story into trading and how I've made this such a prominent part of my life. Like, this to me is a fight or die situation. When it comes to trading, I'm super competitive. So it also scratches that itch where, you know, it's really satisfying when you can feel like you've conquered something on the day, whether that's lifting weights, right? Setting a new PR that you have, running longer than you've ever ran before, hitting a trade that you win. It's really good for your serotonin levels, and it also will help you mitigate your dopamine release too, and maybe a little bit more stress, right? Maybe you have a lot of cortisol built up and you have no way to really relieve that feeling. Well, one great way to do it is to build a skill, monetize that skill, focus on it, and then also wait for those results and hold as much patience as you can, because holding that patience will also allow things to naturally work for you, which is a super important part of trading. Like if you have a strategy that you wake up and you're full of anxiety with every day and it's a bad anxiety, you're going to struggle. And if you have as much success as I have, I find the emotions become like this anticipation anxiety. And that's something I'm still trying to mitigate, where you anticipate making X amount today or anticipate reducing this much risk. And whether it does happen or it doesn't, your brain's going to react to that, right? So that's one thing I try to focus on as much as possible is how little time can I spend in the markets to get a big return. And some days I run trades to expiration, some days I don't, some days I lose, some days I win. But the whole goal is that your strategy wins enough to where over time you're seeing results from trading. And overall, that is what your main focus should be. Whether it's making a lot of money, learning a new skill, or just making enough to support yourself with a side hustle of trading because you have a great full-time job. So that's one thing I try to always talk about and teach everybody is that. Before we wrap up the video, I just wanted to thank Public again. I want to say that really quickly for making such a good app to trade with, for me to use, and we'll have a lot more videos coming out for you guys in the future. But that's going to be everything for me. I'm going to go drive the McLaren. We'll do a video on that eventually. But you guys already know I love y'all. We'll see you in the next one.